It says it's live. Now I have to warn you that I have some new equipment and I'm hoping that it works well. We shall see. So, to those of you who don't know, I'm Nancy from Nancy's Health and Wellness and Mindset Life Coaching. I'm so glad that you're here. And this is just a sort of quick video. I know I always say that and it doesn't always turn out quick, but um, I just wanted to thank everyone who has been a part of this community for 3 years. And I know a lot of you are new, and I welcome anybody who wants to join this wellness site. All of my posts are for your benefit. My videos are educational and they are for you as well, and they are free. I also have get this pop up out of here. I also have a YouTube channel that you can find on this wellness site as well. Just click on it. I haven't posted some videos over there for a while, so most of them are going to be here on this wellness site. So I hope that you enjoy them. I know I haven't done a lot of them. Yesterday, I posted a picture of all the notes that I've taken and the notebooks, or rather, the notebooks that I have used this summer on the research that I've been doing. It's pretty astounding what I have researched and the science that has backed it up. I encourage any of you who are looking for, the correct data, the correct science, to go to pubmed.com, type in anything you want medical related, and there is a paper written on it, and you will see the research as well. That is a viable, integral part of kind of knowing your wellness and um, if you have any concerns or anything of that nature, to be able to have a good source. And pubmed.com is the best source I think that is out there. So write that down, and that's a really great reference for you. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about are the upcoming classes I will be doing. And I know I've been talking about this and I postponed July. So thank you so much for being patient with me on that. This summer's been extremely busy. I'm sure most of you can relate. So the classes I'm going to be having, and I have to kind of reference. So I did Mindset Matters in April. So it's been a while since I've done a class. And the next one is Our Health is in Our Hands. And then the one after that is Creating the Life You Want. And the third one is Where do you see your health in the next 5 years? And where are you at now? And it's sort of going to be like a summary of maybe the previous two classes, but more in depth for you. So those are some things that I'm going to be doing. I want to make sure that you have the best information. For those of you who don't know, I started this wellness site 3 years ago, and I started it with the thought of just helping others um, learn more about nutrition and learn more about the correct information that is out there. There is a lot of conflicting information in the nutritional world. Um, it changes constantly. And I feel like most people are just kind of putting their hands up and they're just confused. And then they just typically do what they want to do, which isn't always the best thing for them health wise. There's a lot of different diets out there. I don't believe in diets. I believe in a lifestyle change. I also don't like restriction, but I know that restriction has to go kind of be in place for people when they are, on a weight loss journey or something of that nature. Um, Let me get that out of there. So, so what I'm trying to do is, when I started this wellness site, I was actually working somewhere else and I didn't have a lot of time to devote to it. Then I found that the corporate world, I worked in finance, which in 2020 went crumbling down as far as um, the behavior of people changed in a most unfavorable way. And, you know, I was in management at a bank, and when they shut the lobby down and all the transactions had to go through the drive up window, at that time, with the current pandemic situation, people were already upset, and then that happened on top of it and did not make anybody happy. And, I was getting yelled at either on the phone or in person by people who were upset. And it wasn't they were upset with me, they didn't even know me. So, I couldn't take it personally. And when you're in management, you are a punching bag for the public. And I didn't like that. I'm here to serve you customer service wise, but I'm not your servant. And I don't appreciate being treated the way that I was day in and day out. So after about 3 or so months of that, um, I decided to quit because for me, it wasn't serving my health. It wasn't serving my person, my being, my soul. Um, I was finding it extremely difficult to go into work and to know that that day somebody's going to scream at me, someone's going to yell at me, um, I'm going to be treated poorly. I had coworkers who were not management, who were, not happy with their jobs, not happy with life in general. And, you've got to deal with their behavior, and then you've got to deal with customers' behavior. And I would say 15% of the customers were great. But the latter part of that, they were not. And they were upset over things we couldn't control. And long story short, you know what? I just don't take that from anybody. I don't feel like you need to be assaulted verbally at your job by either customers or coworkers or what. You don't deserve that kind of life. So I took a year off of that, and I already had a catering company, very small, and of course the pandemic even scaled down even more. And I just kind of, took some time off, collected my thoughts, and I thought, I worked in finance for so long. I worked in banks for such a long time. I thought, I'll give it another try. And again, I went back into management. Um, this one, absolutely, I did not make it 3 months at that one. And that wasn't so much the customer base, which was still during the pandemic. It was the company, and I certainly wouldn't say what company it is, um, but the coworkers and the management, more the management. There were some really cool coworkers, great people. But what really catapulted me into where I am now was the corporate America, the management system, which is horrible. Um, it's leadership. It's not, you are a leader when you are in management. They want you to, corporate America wants you to manage people. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not the person for that. I guess I'm a really bad manager because I don't believe in managing people and hovering over them like a helicopter and treating them like children, double checking their work, etc. I just, I really, I'm a bad manager. I'm a leader. And, if you want your company to do better, if you want strategies to, keep people, retain employees, I'm your gal for that. I would say if I had to go back into corporate America. Um, and there's no leadership classes, there are none available. Um, there was some talk about it the last company I worked at a couple years ago, saying that they had leadership classes, but because of the pandemic, blah blah blah. Well, the pandemic shouldn't have stopped that. There should always be leadership classes for people who are in management and people who are not in management. It's a vital, integral part of your company doing, better and better and better. And I found that what I was told when I was hired was completely different when I got there. So again, I left, and it was, at first I thought, maybe I should have stayed, or you go through 100 different scenarios sometimes. But the fact is that, when you're given false information and then you actually get there and things are completely different, it's time to figure out what you want to do. So I did take some time, and then I got my certifications in life coaching, which you don't need to have a certification in the state of Washington. But I wanted to go ahead and do that anyway. So I threw myself into health and wellness because I've had, at this point, 27 years of nutrition study, etc., teaching it, etc. Um, so I threw myself into the health and wellness, and then as people's behavior, as I heard people tell me or I observed it myself, I felt that mindset would be a really good sort of connection with my health and wellness. So last October, I obtained my certification in mindset life coaching. And I'm working on a third certification, but I'm not sure when that's going to be done. I've got a lot on my plate at this point, anyways, which I am not complaining. I'm very excited. And then that brings me back to this wellness site, 3 years. And it's only been the past year that I've really kind of put my energy into this wellness site. And, I know that there's other wellness sites out there. I know that there's other people. I know that, um, I know that there's other places people can go. My work on this wellness site is absolutely 100% free. None of my classes that I will be offering and have offered will ever be, you have to pay for it. Nor have I paid for any advertising through Facebook. Um, I haven't paid for anything through Facebook. I've just, you can see the followers I have and the likes that I have, and it's, not an enormous amount. It's huge to me because it's grown so much. Last year, I think I only had 52 likes or something like that, or followers, and now it's almost doubled, which I'm extremely thankful for. Um, so that's kind of the background of this wellness site and my background, my education, what I have done. I never in a million years will go back to corporate America. I'm not a good manager. I'm not I'm not a management. I'm not going to do that. And not to say that I don't want to do something that's higher up. I mean, I absolutely would, but it wouldn't be managing people. because you simply cannot manage people. Do you want to go to a job where you are sort of, your boss is sort of a tyrant and, they check on all your work? They don't trust that you can do it yourself. Um, and some of the questions I was asked in the interviewing process were kind of hilarious to me, which I should have picked up on the fact that they want you to manage, basically babysit the team. And it's not a team because most people don't even want to be there. Where I've worked, they absolutely don't want to be there. Um, they out and out say they hate their job. Uh, but they'll, stab this person over here in the back to get their job, but they hate where they work. It's just, to me, it's just too drama filled and um, cutthroat, I would say. The majority of corporate America is. And most corporations rely heavily on numbers. And they don't seem to care too much for the people that work for them. Most CEOs have not even seen a customer in like 5 years or 10. So, I mean, I'm not knocking CEOs. I'm just saying most of them, the people that work for them are the ones that are really seeing the customers and dealing with them and doing really the hard jobs, the frontline jobs. And so it amazes me sort of, but it is definitely a happier existence where I'm at now. So I have clients that I've helped, um, but I let people know that if they want to work with me, they have to um, they have to want to help themselves. I'm not going to offer a magic pill. I'm not going to do all the work for you. I'm going to help you remove, like, challenging barriers that you have. And I'm going to help you remove those. And that's what I do with my clients is I remove the barriers that they have, that personally that they have, and nobody has the same, barriers or whatnot. I have had clients who will not exercise. They want to lose weight. They don't want to exercise. And I say, that's fine. Um, if that's how you are and you don't exercise and that's, your diet has more to do with your weight loss, 90%. And every nutrition expert's going to say a different percent, but it's way up there. And I'm going to say 90%. You cannot out train your fork. So, what you are putting into your body has a complete, it has everything to do with your size, with your health. And, I say that's fine if you don't want to exercise, but I do encourage you to at least walk. Can you at least go out for 10 minutes and walk? And I've had a client who completely refused to exercise, said she just doesn't have the time. And I said, can you start with 5 minutes? And she slowly worked up and now she loves it. The benefits of exercise are, not so much getting into a size 6 jeans, ladies. It has to do with uh, your mental health and your physical health, as far as like your cardiovascular, your heart, your joints. We don't have to age in a manner that you see. You don't have to be sedentary if you don't want to. It's your choice. You may have, a predisposition for many different things genetically, but we are finding out, and I say we, but scientists are finding out through research and also in the health community that you can stave off a lot of issues that maybe your mom had or your dad had. We have epigenetics. Your genetics do not dictate where you're going to be at. Just because, say, your grandma had diabetes type 2, that doesn't mean you're going to have it. First of all, diabetes type 2 is a dietary disease. So we should be treating it with diet, because diet alone has taken people off of their insulin, has taken them off of their metformin, and it has been a complete just turnaround for these people just by diet alone. You have to look at the root cause of why a person has what they have. So, that being said, you know, your genetics might load the gun, but your lifestyle will pull the trigger. So you want to think about that when you hear different things from different sources, and you're not predisposed to everything you think you're predisposed to. And I'm not giving out medical advice. I really encourage people to go to their primary care physician, and any type of diet you start, any type of change, supplementations, whatever you're doing, discuss it with your primary care physician. And if you don't have one, you should find one. It's a partnership with your doctor. And my doctor in particular, I've had for almost 7 years. She is not a pill pusher. She's fair, she's intelligent, and she has she has been very patient with me, as far as my challenging medical um, opinions, etc. I constantly throw that at her assistants, and I know they hate me, but you know what? That's okay, because I'm not going to do something that I don't agree with. And if they are wrong about something, I don't care if they're a medical assistant. I have 27 years in nutrition and exercise physiology. So, you know what? And I'm certified life coach in, 3 different areas. So, okay. I mean, just because you're a medical assistant, that to me, that doesn't mean anything. Not that I disrespect them. It's just I've had a couple, and I've had doctors who have given out the worst information, completely wrong, completely left field, and I called them out on it. And of course, nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be called out. But with today's day and age, and Google, and PubMed, you can literally find out anything you want. Not to diagnose yourself. I'm not saying that. Don't go to Google and diagnose yourself. If you have a symptom, again, go to your primary care physician. I find it kind of like dating somebody. It's very difficult to find a good one. So it's kind of like your primary care physician. When you find a really good primary care physician, you want to hang on to them. You do. So I'm very blessed to have a very good one. And I'm not going to say her name, but she's amazing. And I try very hard not to be condescending to her staff, because I'm not generally like that. It's just when I know what I know, and somebody else wants to go in left field, and they are in the health field, they are a medical assistant, or they are a nurse, and they should know this and they don't, and then you tell them and they want to argue with you, and I'm not going to argue about it, okay, because I'm right. So you can go look it up. I always say that too. I'm like, look it up, go reference it, go to PubMed, go to Google, go to WebMed. You can find this information out. That's how I found it. Or I watched a podcast with Rich Roll, and maybe Simon Hill, and I mean, you literally have no excuse not to be educated with the internet and Google and everything else. So with that said, I hope that the equipment that I have on here is working. I have a microphone. I'm not sure if that's working. I'll find out when I review this video. But I went off topic a little smidge, which is typical of me. But I wanted to just thank all of you, and I'm hoping that people have made it this far um, into this live video, and I just really want to celebrate every person that has come to this wellness site. My posts are for you. My posts are full of the information and the research that I've done. And I always welcome people to double check what I'm saying. I provide references, anything that you want to solidify the fact that what I'm talking about is correct. And, because we can go to a lot of different sites, we can look at a lot of different people. And unfortunately, a lot of the information that's out there it's more than wrong. Even the American Diabetes Association. Um, I watched a documentary not too long ago with Kip Anderson. It was called "What the Health," HEALTH, and I was floored. Now you can take this for what you want. Not everybody's going to like the documentaries that I watch. I've had friends tell me, please don't tell me what you've watched. I don't want to see it because I want to be able to eat meat again. So, and I'm for whatever thing you want to do. You want to do paleo? Cool. You want to do keto? Awesome. You want to do carnivore? Good luck. What do you want to do? Whatever you want to do. I find that the plant based community is extremely interesting to me. And I dabble in using myself as an experiment in doing, keto for 4 months. And, then I try something else, then vegetarian. So, whatever you want to do. But this documentary, What the Health, Kip Anderson, was so mind blowing when he went into the American Diabetes Association, the ADA, and the guy that he was talking to was so uncomfortable with the questions, and they were just normal questions. Very average. I didn't think he was out of line at all. He was interviewing and they accepted the interview. But while Kip Anderson was there, this this guy, I won't name his name, but if you see the documentary, you'll see who it is. Um, he was so upset that he shut it down. That's the end of her, and kind of just walked out. Kip Anderson, and I was like, "What the health?" Yeah, what the health? Um, and then there were other elements in there I won't even discuss. If you feel like you want to watch that documentary or if you've seen it before, that's awesome. Um, to me, it's part of my work. It's part of health and wellness, and I use great discernment. And my friend Shelly mentioned that's what I do is use great discernment when I do my research, because I don't take everybody's word for, you know, what they're saying. I take from it what I can prove and what is, sustainable about the topic, and what exactly they're speaking about. What is there enough information? Is it, is this just doesn't happen? But when you watch a documentary, I'm here to tell you, you walk across those cow fields with these people, you go into dairy farms, you go into the chicken coops, they've got federal inspectors, former USDA inspectors, um, and it blows my mind. Because I really like to see and look at people for the best in them. I don't necessarily think somebody is a scumbag. I mean, I just don't. I give people the benefit of the doubt a lot, not too much. If I, encounter somebody who's sort of shady, I know exactly right away they're shady. What I'm saying is, when you listen to a USDA inspector, you sort of don't really like, I can't believe this guy is really saying this. And the laws that are against whistleblowers, I had no idea there were laws. I just was completely blown away. So anyway, that is a really good documentary. If you have the nerve to watch it, it's kind of like a horror movie. You know, it's like a scary movie, but it's a documentary, which makes it worse to me because, you know, it's real. They're documenting this. They're going to these places. It's not edited to make it look like such and such. Like if you're watching the Beverly Hills Housewives or whatever, they edit so crazy in there. You never know what they're talking about. And yes, I do like that show sometimes. Um, but just to say, you need to have the correct information when you're getting, you know, health information in particular. You need to know the correct supplementations if you want to take the vitamins, etc. You need to research it. And it's hard because not a lot of people have time or the interest to research things. So that's where I come in. I share with you my research, my hours and hours and hours of not just research, but the podcasts I watch, the books. I just got Dr. B, who is Dr. Bolsowitz, and I did post that on here. Um, you know, Fiber Fueled, his book Fiber Fueled, and then I also have the Fiber Fueled cookbook as well. Um, I pretty much have quit eating meat. I say pretty much because a couple times I've gone, you know, out to dinner and I've had a little bit of chicken, but I went. I thought it was 20 years I went without red meat, but it was actually more than that. It was 30 years I went without red meat, and I did that because, and I caught a lot of flack for not eating red meat. Um, Someone in my family gave me a really hard time, by marriage family, not blood, but gave me a, it was more like, oh, let's have pot roast. Oh, Nancy doesn't eat beef. Oh, let's have, you know, roast beef dip sandwiches. Oh, Nancy doesn't eat, you know, beef. And I'm thinking, you know, I eat everything else. I didn't. So anyway, long story short, I got a lot of flack for that. But I'm probably a lot healthier than that individual as well. So there you go. Um, I didn't do it for, let me make a statement. I'm not eating beef. When I turned 18, I quit eating it. Um, I did it because it was extremely hard on my digestive system. So we all have microbiomes, we all have our gut activity. And for me, the red meat was just too much. I felt every time I had it, I felt bloated. I felt sick. My stomach ached. Now, why would you want to keep eating that? So I quit. And then last year, I was anemic. So I thought, I'll have a burger here and there. But, you know, I didn't have healthy burgers. I had unhealthy burgers. So that wasn't good. So I quit that and I'm done with that. And, you know, now it's kind of like what I want you guys to do. I want you to experiment on yourself. And, you know, George Foreman, the great boxer, he used to say before a fight, he would just to lean up. And he was already in really good shape. But just to lean up, he would quit eating meat for that week. He would just no more meat. And he just vegetarian, that's all he had. You know, he didn't have any meat. And he would get in much better shape. So, I feel I have the same amount of energy. You know, for instance, last night I had, you know, like a corn tortillas, the small ones, and just made like bean burritos out of them, you know, with veggies in it and cheese and not a lot of cheese, saturated fat, but you know. I found it extremely satisfying. And then after dinner, I don't eat anything. And I am a huge champion of intermittent fasting. And that's something that I will talk about in the classes that I'm going to be teaching is if you want to know anything you want to know about intermittent fasting, I can tell you. Um, if there was something new, I'd be shocked that I don't know. Intermittent fasting is a game changer. It completely changes your metabolism, it changes your body, and it changes your cravings. You literally lose cravings for sugar. And that's not just me, that's other people who have testified and had testimony, given their testimony on, look, this is what happens to me when I do a 16/8 or, whatever. I tend to do more of a 19 hour, 20 hour sometimes. Sometimes I do a 24-hour. I'm not really interested in doing, a 2-day fast or a week long fast. I find that painful. I just don't even know. I don't want to do that. But what I have been doing has been working for me, and so I will be talking about that in other classes that are in the classes that are coming up. I will be talking about intermittent fasting and the different types and the benefits. Um, I also want to throw sleep in there because sleep is vital. I am really committed to having good sleep. I have blackout shades. I have my air conditioner right now, which is behind me. And no, I don't like it here because it's big and bulky, but it keeps the place cold. And I like it about 64 degrees to go to sleep. I like to actually be like sort of freezing when I'm getting in bed. Um, and that is actually a really healthy thing to do is to keep your room cold and dark. And I'll get into all of that later. Otherwise, I'll be talking on here for 2 hours, which I don't want to do because I don't think many people will watch this to the end because it's a little bit long. But so that's what I'm going to be doing, and I hope that you will join in those classes. It'll be recorded live, but you will be able to watch it at your convenience. I will post the dates and the times for the classes if you want to catch them live. The thing about live is you just never know what's going to happen. I keep thinking that a delivery person's going to come down my driveway and then my dog is going to go crazy um, because we have deliveries here almost every day, it seems like. So I'm going to close with drink your water. And I really hope people are hydrating themselves. I know that we're running into fall right now, but it's still imperative to drink enough water. A lot of times, you think you're hungry and you're eating something and you're actually just thirsty. Your body is trying to signal you that, hey, I'm thirsty, I'm not hungry, but you grab something to eat anyway. Um, I have not eaten anything today yet, probably in another hour, and the water saves me. Now, there's other people that say, look, I can take a sip of water and I still want, a burger. So it just depends on your, chemistry and your biology. For me, thank goodness it works and I can just drink water. Um, but thank you so much for listening to this. This was a mix of topics today, but most important, third anniversary for this wellness site, and all of you make it possible. And I look forward to many more years with all of you. And I had somebody say that today on a comment too. I thought that was so sweet. Many more years. And another person said that they were glad that I was here. And those are the comments that I it's just so rewarding, such validation. And I do care about all of you, and my posts are directed towards this audience, this community, and I really want you to know how invested I am in this wellness site and how it will never be a paid for video. You know, everything I do for you on this wellness site is free. Um, so I would say it's pro bono for you guys. So I hope that you are having a great day, and I'm going to end this with thank you. Take care.